The Boston Bruins. Bergeron's back. Krejci's back. This is the last dance. We know that it is.
It definitely is.
They've said it is. So, where do we have them landing this season? It's a tough team to predict. A lot of people are saying, yeah, you think this is the last dance? No, the last dance already happened. What are the betting odds at Sports Interaction, Jesse?
95.5. Adam, where did they finish last year? How many points?
They had 107.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the betting market's like looking at them
Real down.
taking a dip.
Real down.
here.
Well, because Krejci's back from a year away. Bergeron is 37. Now, the interesting thing with Bergeron is, usually you lose versus Father Time, but him and Joel Pavelski keep looking Father Time in the face and going, not today.
Yeah, no, not today. Okay, can I take my Selkie nod and go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
still.
I understand why you would be down on the Bruins. Like, specifically right off the top, you got McAvoy, Marchand, and Grzelcyk gone.
Really hard. That's really
Marchand and McAvoy aren't supposed to return till December. Grzelcyk will be back in November. That's tough to lose those three.
Oh, yeah.
However, I have to say the Bruins have one of the more deeper teams in the NHL still. And they've got one of the deepest ingrained systems.
And identity.
Yes, thank you.
The prospects, when they make their Bruins debut, are Bruins. They are already Bruins. There's no assembly required. You play Bruins hockey. I always say that about Trent Frederick. I know he's not a superstar, but
he's a Bruin.
He's a Bruin that was made in a lab.
Yeah.
Like
it was like when Johnny Boychuk was traded. It's like, that guy is a Bruin, and he brought the Bruins-ness to the Islanders. But to me, Johnny Boychuk was always a Bruin playing for the Islanders.
Yeah, 100%. To me, Trent Frederick was a guy who probably stood up at the draft before his name was called.
And just knew?
Yeah, we like the Bruins, I know, and he just got up because they 100% knew.
Yeah.
And not just like, I think people are underestimating their skaters, their youth up front and on the back end, but they also got a really good tandem. And it's not always obvious who the starter is, which can be a problem. But Linus Ullmark was good. Faltered at times, but he was good. And Jeremy Swayman is good. Faltered at times, but he was good.
And
really good tandem.
You have to think, if Jeremy Swayman's at Media Day, which he was,
They
obviously have high expectations of him, right?
Absolutely. That or no one else wanted to go.
No, the media day thing. That's going in the
Well, you
projections.
can tell something about a team's fortunes by who they send to Media Day.
Who was that Coyotes media day?
Oh, no. I want to say it was Clayton Keller.
This is- we're stealing
I didn't
the
talk to them,
Bruins'
obviously.
time.
We should also throw in that Taylor Hall was injured last Saturday during their preseason game. He had an upper body injury, and he is out week to week, doubtful for the season opener.
It's an old team. It is an old team. But I see
Hall isn't old, but he's got an old body.
But yes, and Hall's been injured a lot. Bergeron's had punctured lungs. Marchand's had this and that. Obviously, Grzelcyk and McAvoy you already know about. Nick Foligno is skating on half a back at this point. Yeah. But somehow, some way, you just get the feeling that betting against the Bruins, much like the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are also old, is a bad idea. Why do we have that feeling?
Because this is, we say The Last Dance far too often, but people laugh at Patrice Bergeron's cap hit, which is technically 2.5, and Krejci, I want to say, is like 1 or something like that. Their bonuses are easily attainable to the point of insulting. And the reason is they'll get their bonus. It'll go to next year when it is a clear, at very minimum, retool year. That doesn't mean they can't make the playoffs next year, but they are at very minimum going to retool, if not a rebuild.
We're about 4.5 minutes into this preview, and we haven't mentioned that they had the weird firing with Bruce Cassidy, and now that Montgomery,
literally next on
Jim
my list.
Montgomery, the former coach of the Dallas Stars, who kind of coached Boston Bruins hockey in Dallas, is now the head coach of
They were doing really well.
Boston Bruins.
Until he got fired.
The exit was obviously very weird. We went over that last in July with Bruce Cassidy. But Jim Montgomery seems like a good fit for Boston Bruins.
He does. He does. It's a good fit.
I think
Bruce
he's going to be
leaving.
He's going to be coaching an overall more talented team than he ever had in Dallas. You know, I know Seguin and Ben were great, but I think through the lineup, this is a more complete team.
But all he was
was
successful there.
Yeah,
like all they did was win.
Yeah, absolutely. Stanley Cup final a couple years ago. I do wonder, it comes down to like old dogs, new tricks. And again, I'm a big fan of what the Bruins are, which I hate saying. But you do wonder, okay, so you had that many years and with Cassidy, with Bergeron and Krejci and Marchand and all these guys. What's Jim Montgomery gonna do to change things? And what I mean by that is, what's he gonna say to Patrice Bergeron? Hey, Patrice, I need you to do this.
He doesn't say anything to Patrice Bergeron. Well, he does, but he says what he needs to say to Patrice Bergeron, and Bergeron delivers it to the room.
I see.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Also, he needs to invent something that is a line of Pavel Zacha, David Krejci, and David Pastrnak.
And just be impossible to play against?
No, so we can call it the checking line.
Oh, boo.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's a really good line name. I know it's not the best combo, but it's great.
Linus Ullmark was brought in to be the next sort of starter, and it seems like it hasn't totally worked out. Is he a guy that's a possible surprise goaltender again this year?
Yeah, no, I think part of the reason he didn't get as many games last year, I know one of them battled injuries. I can't remember. But also Jeremy Swayman was too good. And they actually had a very interesting scenario last year where Swayman had to get sent down because Tuukka Rask came back. And then Rask ended up retiring, and it was back to Ullmark and Swayman, which was, probably for the best for all involved.
And I say Ullmark had an off year in 9-17.
Yeah, no, he was wonky at times.
How many games
and
did he play?
Didn't start great.
He started 39, played 41.
Okay, yeah, so that's almost evenly split with Swayman, who played 41, and like you mentioned, the 5 down in Providence, because Tuukka Rask was like, hey, I want to give this a shot.
Yeah, and he did, and I can't fault him for trying. But I mean, the Bruins were like 3 essentially starting NHL goalies deep at that point, assuming Rask was an NHL starter at the time. I got no questions about their goaltending.
I think it's a little underrated. Like I think
it's a
really, really great tandem, and one of them might even play a way above expectations and steal the job outright. It's a really good goaltending tandem. They should not be concerned at all.
Good goaltending hides a lot of blemishes, and this is a team with a lot of blemishes to start the season. There's no hiding that. But if they survive this storm, it's going to be a very Merry Christmas in Boston.
People were big fans of Hampus Lindholm for a long time when he was playing on the West Coast, and there was trade rumor after trade rumor. He finally gets traded to Boston, and for some reason, when he gets traded, that's the year people go, nah, I don't know about this guy. That might have been too expensive a contract. He's playing with Brandon Carlo as right now they're going to be the top pairing, and I would assume they move down once the other two come back. But Hampus Lindholm, what's he bring to this team, and what is he actually now?
Well, so you again, it's Jim Montgomery, and you look at who Jim Montgomery had in Boston and who his favorite toys might have been. And I look at Hampus.
You mean Dallas? What he had in Dallas?
Yeah, my bad. What he had in Dallas, and I think if you're Jim Montgomery, you got to be thinking, all right, who's my Miro Heiskanen?
Yes.
And I think he's hoping that's what Hampus Lindholm can be. You need a little bit of turning back the clock, a little bit of injury luck, but I think Lindholm has the skill set to. I mean, Miro Heiskanen's a bit aggressive, but be something along those lines. Be a number one guy on that left side.
Okay, so with the last 40 seconds, gentlemen, where do you have the Boston Bruins in this division?
The Boston Bruins are going to lose points because the Atlantic seems to keep getting better, and the Eastern Conference as a whole is getting better. But I still have them as a playoff team. I still have them in 4th place in the Atlantic Division, ahead of a bunch of other teams who we'll get to.
I, too, have them in 4th place. I think that you bet against Boston at your own peril, and I sure as hell wouldn't want to play them in the first round.
I agree, Adam. You do bet against Boston at your own peril, and that's why I have them 3rd.
Oh,
there is something to be said about magic, and there is something to be said about fighting the odds. That's what I think the Bruins are going to do this year.